What's up, guys? We just reviewed Wrong Turn 6. I got inspired. We're moving backwards now. We're going to do Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. Let's go. Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines stars Doug Bradley, Roxanne McKee, Paul Lubke, Camilla Offerton, and is directed by the late Declan O'Brien. What's up, guys? We are continuing the Wrong Turn series, like I said, moving backwards. I guess this review is dedicated to the memory of the late Declan O'Brien. I was reading on IMDb because that's where I get a lot of my factual information from, and I noticed that it said Declan O'Brien actually died this year, and he directed, I think, 3 of the Wrong Turn movies. So, wow. I could see the love and care that he had for this movie. I haven't seen 4 and 3 yet. We'll get to those. But yeah, it's just sad when, filmmakers, especially, horror filmmakers who you can tell love the genre, pass away. Pretty brutal. So, yeah, it sucks. This is definitely dedicated to Declan O'Brien and his memory. Died this year. Wow. Guys, this franchise is just so all over the place tonally. The first movie is pretty straight and serious and gripping. The last one that I just reviewed is pretty much softcore porn. And then you had the remake that came out, which I've reviewed. It kind of goes in the same path, even though it's a very different story than the first movie. And I would imagine that my surprises haven't ended yet, going, I guess, backwards through the rest of this franchise. And I'm kind of curious, As much as Part 6 is a really mess of a movie. It's not a good movie at all. It's fun to talk about, and it's definitely interesting. Usually you wouldn't see a horror movie go that far in terms of nudity and even sex. And boy, does that movie really just, 6 scenes, I think I counted. Pretty crazy. So I've never reviewed a movie like that before. So for me, it was just really interesting. Okay, so now Part 5. First off, I guess let's give you a quick plot synopsis. Now, starting off, we realize we're in this town called Fair Lakes, West Virginia. I don't know if that's a fictional location or if that's a real. I haven't looked at my map yet today. According to the legend, this town is uninhabited. There's nobody that lives there. Back in the 1800s, I guess something happened, and people just they went in a different direction. But every year on Halloween, a bunch of young people get together and they have this festival. And so I guess that's where the inbreds come out to play. What is it? They're like annual booty for the year, Booty meaning a food, I guess, because they're cannibals. I don't know. And I guess they store them in a freezer. I'm just guessing. I'm putting the pieces together. This isn't something that's actually explained in the movie. And so, of course, like any Wrong Turn movie, you have this young group of people that are going to this festival. Seems like a lot of fun. And they get pulled into this horrific ordeal. And the way it kind of takes place is there's this car accident, and then you got this character, Maynard, played by the great Doug Bradley. Always nice to see him in something outside of Hellraiser. As a matter of fact, I don't think I've ever seen Doug Bradley in anything outside of Hellraiser. And you know what? He's pretty damn good in this. He plays Maynard, which is great because my favorite band is Tool. Lead singer of that band is Maynard, James Keenan. There's this sheriff that comes along, Sheriff Angela, and it's kind of a messy ordeal. And I would imagine a lot of law enforcement folk, they have to deal with logistical nightmares sometimes. The group of young people, they think they hit him, they don't know if he's hurt, and then he attacks them. And so the sheriff, she happens to show up at the same time, and she has to kind of separate everybody and get them to the station. And she has her deputy stay there and watch them. And that's a really funny scene because then Three Finger and his 2 inbred brothers, I think they're brothers, they come down and, he's got a gun. He brings a gun to an inbred fight, and the inbreds, of course, are going to win. They shoot him with the bow and arrows in the legs, and he doesn't stand a chance. It's hilarious. And so really the rest of this movie is, they're in this situation. Some pot was discovered in their car. And so they're stuck in this jail. Quickly after, she releases most of them. So they go back to this hotel. But then you got Maynard in this jail cell, and he is antagonizing the sheriff throughout the movie. And also there's this character named Lita, played by Roxanne McKee from the first season of Game of Thrones. And also Finn McKee, who's also in Game of Thrones, also Iron Fist, has a small part in this as well. So there's 2 Game of Thrones actors in this movie, which is cool. Give you a nice boost in the acting department because they're fine actors. But Roxanne McKee plays Lita, and Maynard constantly messes with her throughout this movie, you know, telling her to let him free. If you let me free, then I will save you. But we know better than that. You don't want to trust this guy. You don't even know him. Comparing this to part 6, which I just reviewed, this one is definitely on the right track in terms of balance, you know. It is that B-level slasher flick that actually has an ample amount of like nudity, but also a more ample amount of violence. There's much more violence. There's much more three-finger love in this movie. That didn't sound right. Than in part 6. That term should have been in part 6. Oh my God, I'm getting myself in trouble. And speaking of the violence, that is the big seller for this movie. I was really having a good time with a lot of the sequences throughout. Just to name a couple, there's this character named Cruz, who comes out, and Three Finger comes, and he actually has this like Halloween mask on over his hideous face. And that mask, I think, was scarier than his actual face, you know? Just because of, I guess, the juxtaposition of the mask, because it looks innocent. Sometimes innocence can come off as evil and creepy, and boy, does it work in this scene. It really reminded me of like Strangers, you know? How one of the characters has kind of that cherubic type of mask. Same type deal here. I would have been happy if Three Finger would have kept that mask on for the whole movie. Would have been cool, actually. The way he attacks her, brutal, you know, stabs her with a knife, but then he pulls her intestines out and he feeds them to her, okay? And that's what you get with these types of movies, you know? They're just fun, creative, and us horror fans, sometimes we just like that stuff. We like creative, gory kills. And if you want gory kills, this definitely has it. Is it like Terrifier gory? No, it's not, but it really, you know, holds its own for sure. Of course, you have this other scene, which is probably my favorite scene. You have these 2 characters. One of them, his head is just protruding out of the ground. So you got this, I think it's a tiller, and it's just coming along, and it's antagonizing the guy, you know, building the suspense as it gets closer and closer to the guy's head. You know, think Creepshow here. He doesn't hit the guy. He actually comes back around and hits him from behind. But what makes the scene work so well is the guy, you know, he can't see the thing. So in his mind, he's going crazy, wondering when it's going to hit him. And then you get the payoff when it hits him, for sure. You get the payoff with him hitting that head, but then it comes over the next guy from toes to head, all the way through. Worth the Price of Admission alone. Loved that sequence. Oh, and one more kill that I have to mention, and it was just awesome, is you got this character, Jason. He's in this truck. One of the characters comes, and sure enough, she opens the door to the truck, and that sets off the booby trap because he has this like hook knife that's lined up right at his navel. And when she opens the door, it goes up his torso and just rips him open, and his intestines pour out. And I got to get another drink of my Monster. It's really delicious. Also, pacing-wise, I like this movie too because it does start off pretty rough. I think I even like made a couple comments on social media as I was watching it, stating that it wasn't good at all at first. But then, luckily, it does pick up at a certain point. And I think that's just because once the characters are in the jail area, and that's kind of where the story settles in, and then they kind of disperse out from there, you know? So really, the jail area gives you a chance to kind of get to know our key characters, like Sheriff Angela, who is a heroic type of character. You know, she does the right thing and stays behind because she wants to make sure that this guy Maynard is kept in check. You know, she puts the job above her own selfish needs. Whereas, you know, a character like Lita, you know, she's scared and she wants to just get the hell out of there. And so she is kind of coerced by Maynard later in the movie. And ultimately that's going to be her downfall. So I guess that's the lesson here is if you put others before yourself, then there's a good chance that you're going to make it out of it. But does she? Spoilers ahead. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and give you that spoiler warning right now, okay? Just in case I trip up, all right? From this point on, I might be talking some spoilers. I will be talking some spoilers, all right? And if you don't want to know what happens in the last act of this movie, then you might not want to watch forward. But it's a wrong turn movie, okay? Part 5. You just stick around. The reason I said that is because I actually dig how this movie ended, you know, because it was unexpected. First off, I didn't know if Sheriff Angela was going to live last or if Lita was going to live. You know, it could have been either. And I like that, you know, you had those options there. There was no sure final girl set up until like late in the movie. Or they both could have lived. It would have been interesting. Unfortunately, the person that's trying to do the right thing, she ends up dying anyway because, you know, Lita lets her guard down. This whole thing's Lita's fault, okay? She lets her guard down. Maynard takes advantage of the situation. He sets the place on fire. But before he does that, he has Angela pretty much tied up to the jail cell. If she drops her heels, then the rifle, it's gonna blow her head off. So either way, she's gonna die. Isn't he a nice guy? Really nice guy. She drops her heels. I don't know if she did that because, you know, her body was on fire, or if she just made that choice right there. You know, I'm just gonna go ahead and end this right now. And her head explodes, and I giggle. But then you got this character, Lita, who I was really rooting for throughout this movie. Like early on, I was like, I would love for her to be the final girl. I just think she has those qualities. She's a good actress. I guess jumping into the cons, and this is a selfish thing for me, is how I wanted the movie to kind of end. I wanted her to rise up and maybe learn something through all this and fight and kick ass. And no, not at all. She gets both her eyes gouged out just because she lets her guard down and she lets Maynard free. So I guess that's what should have happened. You know, in a story, if you screw up like that, then you're gonna pay for it. And boy, does she pay for it. Funny enough, she does live as far as we know, but it's not in the best way at all because she's blind and she's like roaming the streets, and then Maynard catches up to her. And at first she doesn't know that it's him. And he says some pretty horrible things to her earlier in the movie too, like what he's gonna do to her if she does get caught. And not fun at all. Those damn hillbillies. Now this movie was filmed in Bulgaria. I think part 6 was filmed in Bulgaria too. Part 6 does have better location though, because it's set in this like hotel, or looks like a hotel. Whereas this one, you can clearly tell that it's on some sort of, I don't know if it's a sound stage or just a back lot. It looks like a back lot, kind of like what you would see at like Universal Studios. Watching Seinfeld, when you see like the streets of New York, and you can obviously tell that it's like a back lot. That's what this looks like. It looks like just an area just meant for filming, and that's fine. It's always better when you can be on location, you know? Especially in these types of movies. Like in the first movie, you could tell that they were on location. The area looked massive. Whereas this, it looks contained, it looks confined. Also, these later sequels, the cinematography, just not up to par. Like, again, the cinematography for the first movie and the reboot, much better, much better. But luckily, you do have some decent acting to hold it up. You do get the TNA, and that's always nice to have in these slasher flicks, you know? An ample amount. It doesn't go overboard like in part 6. As far as like a rating, I would definitely even this one out, probably with part 6, and give it a humdrum. I haven't decided. I think it's definitely a better movie than part 6, but I haven't decided if I like it more than part 6. Maybe a little, I don't know. But so far, in my wrong turn run, a lot better than I expected, guys, because I thought I was gonna hate these movies. And they've been nothing but entertaining. And a lot of you have told me that part 4 and 2 are pretty decent flicks, okay? So I'm looking forward to jumping into those as well. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts on Wrong Turn 5, Bloodlines. Hellraiser has a Bloodlines too. Jesus. Also, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day. And on Fridays, we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on all my socials. Support me on Patreon. Buy me a coffee. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.